This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. The largest strike in the United States is happening right now here in New York City at Columbia University. 3,000 student workers, graduate and undergraduate, are facing down the private university. They're in their 5th week of the strike, and the stakes are rising. Columbia has threatened to replace all 3,000 of the striking student workers if they don't return to work by Friday. This is Paul Brown, an organizer with the Student Workers of Columbia, United Auto Workers Local 2110, speaking Monday at a protest on campus.
If an administrator takes a sick day, nothing really happens. But if a grad student takes a sick day, or like a facilities person takes a sick day, or a postdoc takes a sick day, like classes would have to be canceled and stuff like that. And so I guess just really kind of reorienting the perception and the culture of graduate school from like, oh, we're just students, we should be glad to be here, to, respecting the labor that we put into this institution.
On Monday, many Columbia faculty members walked out of their classes in a show of solidarity with the striking student workers and joined their picket line on the campus's iconic College Walk. This is English professor Jack Halberstam addressing the protest.
I think it's important that the university understand that this isn't just about the demands that you're making, which, by the way, are utterly reasonable demands. Cost of living raise. What is the problem, right? Dental care, as someone who went into debt for root canals as a graduate student, yes, please, dental care. These are absolutely basic. And then the difficult issue of third-party arbitration, right? And I think I understand more about that after the meeting yesterday. So what I think is helpful is just to remind ourselves that there is a larger context within which this strike takes place. History of workers, I say this. We are with you. We stand with you. We see you. We fight alongside you. To faculty allies, I say, this is our fight. This is our university. This is our chance to say no to the corporate university here and now. This is not Goldman Sachs.
Professor Jack Halberstam will be joining us in a minute. Today, the student workers are calling on others to help them shut down the university from 8 to 6 by not crossing their picket line. They're asking professors and students not to enter campus, not to go to classes, not to hold classes. One of their slogans is, New York is still a union town, and members of other unions from around the city are expected to join in solidarity. For more, we're joined by the professor you just heard, Jack Halberstam, professor of English and Gender Studies at Columbia University, and by Johanna King-Slutsky, a PhD student in English and Comparative Literature at Columbia University, rank and file member of Student Workers of Columbia. We welcome you both to Democracy Now! Johanna, let's begin with you. This is now the largest strike in the United States that's going on right now. Can you tell us why you're striking? It's not actually the first strike by the Columbia students this year.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you for having me on this program. So this is our second strike this year. We struck last spring as well. And we have really basic demands. Our priority contract articles are, as Jack mentioned in the speech that you all just heard, a raise so that we meet cost of living standards. We have a lower, income compared to cost of living than any peer institution. We're also asking for health care that includes vision and dental benefits. We're asking for protections against sexual harassment and discrimination. And we're asking for full unit recognition for any member who the National Labor Relations Board said should be able to join. The university's been trying to keep out some of our legal members. And we're really motivated, as Professor Halberstam said in the speech you guys heard. We really see ourselves as part of a broader labor movement, both in higher education, which has been, facing terrible trends of adjunctification and administrative overreach, and in the in the labor movement overall.
And Johanna, could you talk about what precisely the student workers do at Columbia and what the university's response has been to your demands?
Yeah, I mean, student workers, we are I think the majority of workers, or at least instructional workers and research workers at the university. We are the ones who do the research that wins grant money for the university. We are teachers. We are teaching assistants, research assistants. I teach my own class. Many of my colleagues teach the same classes that a professor would teach. And we are the ones who have the most face time with the undergraduates who are paying Columbia's bills, paying tuition.
And increasingly, has Columbia, as many universities around the country have increasingly gone to student workers and contingent lecturers instead of tenure-track faculty to teach most of their courses?
Yeah, it's a huge problem in the higher ed movement, but yeah, there's been a real shift towards hiring contingent faculty, meaning people that the university can replace very quickly and easily. They have very few rights. They make much less income, and graduate workers as well are facing kind of a similar onslaught. In many ways, it feels like we're lambs being raised for the slaughter. You know, I think at least and many of my colleagues feel like there's a really good chance that we're going to become one of these adjuncts or contingent faculty members after we graduate. And that's one of the reasons we're motivated in this fight. You know, I think that we really see this as telling administrators, telling universities that have billions and billions of dollars in reserve that could easily afford to pay graduate workers, undergrads who TA, who pay, adjuncts. They can afford to pay us a living wage. They've said outright that they can afford to pay us a living wage and that they, just don't think it's prudent, that they don't want to. And if you can afford to pay us a living wage, I don't really understand why one of my colleagues, whether they're a grad worker or an adjunct or a full professor, should have to do things like not take his son to the dentist because we don't get dental coverage or because we don't make enough money to pay for dental coverage out of pocket.
Johanna, I want to read an email sent by David Driscoll, the vice president of Columbia University Human Resources, to the over 3,000 students at Columbia last week. It's been made public. It reads in part, in order to plan coverage for the spring term in a timely fashion, the following categories of student officers will receive their letter in the normal course. A, student officers who are currently working as shown by their attestations. B, students who are not currently on appointment. Or C, student officers who are currently on strike but return to work by December 10th, as shown by their attestation for the current pay period. Please note that striking student officers who return to work after December 10th will be appointed, assigned to suitable positions if available. Johanna, can you respond to what the university is doing and talk about the significance of today, this day, and the action growing ever larger?
Yeah, that email, the language sounds bland, but it was very alarming. For those who can't speak administrator, what they're saying is that they are planning to replace those of us who remain on strike through the end of the week. This is an illegal form of retaliation. We are on an unfair labor practice strike, which protects us from our labor being permanently replaced. And yet they're threatening to do that very thing. It's frightening because it's illegal, but the university has a much greater megaphone, much more power than we do, and it's easy for them to get away with illegal activity like that. So we are shutting down campus today to kind of tell the university that we and other unions in the city and faculty, we're not okay with them just bulldozing over us. It's completely not only illegal, but unjust to fire, in effect, people like me. I stand to lose my job, my appointment, my teaching appointment. I have my own class that I'm supposed to teach next semester, and I might not have a class to return to because I've been exercising my legally protected right to withhold my labor. And so we are having a massive picket. For those who are in New York City, you're welcome to come down to our campus and join us in the picket. It's going to be a very joyful experience. And we are asking every student and every faculty member not to cross the picket by attending class or holding class. As Paul in the speech that you guys shared said, when the teachers, which is, graduate students like me, when we shut down, when we stop working, the university grinds to a halt, and we really want to make that clear.